Someone asked a question recently. It was actually at one of our conferences during Q&A, and I thought it'd be great to make a daily message out of this. And the tension here is the difference between loving Christ more versus caring less about two people. And so I want to delve into two distinct approaches to managing our relationships, particularly when we desire to see changes in others. And so let's say that you have someone and you want them to change. You love them so much and you hope that God would get a hold of their hearts up to the point to where their lack of change begins to manage you. And so what is the solution? You should love Christ more, or should you care less about them? That is the idea in view here. Now, these two responses highlight the need to shift our focus, either by elevating Christ in our lives or by rebalancing our attachments to people. In Luke 14, Jesus emphasizes the necessity of loving Him more, loving Him so deeply that all other loves seem like hate in comparison. This hyperbolic statement isn't a call to actually hate others. He's not saying that at all. He's using hyperbole as a teaching tool. It is a directive to prioritize Christ above all else, above all people, including that person that you love so much and you just wish that they would change. By exalting Christ to the highest place in our hearts, we naturally diminish the control that others' actions have over us. When our primary affection is directed toward Christ, we are liberated from the bondage of being overly influenced, overly managed by the behaviors and attitudes of those who are around us, even those that we deeply care about and we wish to see transformed. Now, on the other hand, caring less about a person, it doesn't imply neglect, it doesn't imply indifference, but it is addressing the issue of idolatry in relationships. You see, sometimes we elevate individuals to a pedestal, allowing their actions or their lack of actions dictate our spiritual well-being. This form of idolatry, where someone occupies a place in our hearts meant for God, it needs to be corrected. Exodus 20, verse number 3, warns against having other gods before the true and living God, which includes the subtle idolatry of placing excessive importance on human relationships. For those struggling with such idolatry, the solution involves bringing them down to a normal relationship level. This approach means recognizing and repenting of the undue prominence that we have given them, ensuring our love for them is right, biblical, Christ-centered, rather than obsessive and controlling. This adjustment is not about diminishing our love for them at all, but reorienting our love for them in a way that honors God first and foremost. So in essence, when our love for others begins to control us, it reveals a dual problem. One, a low view of Christ and an inflated view of the person. To remedy this, we must exalt Christ in our hearts and minds, acknowledging His supremacy and His sufficiency in our lives. Simultaneously, we should recalibrate our relationships, ensuring that our love for others does not morph into idolatry. By doing so, we align our hearts with biblical principles, fostering a love that is both profound and properly ordered. In practical terms, this transformative process involves 1, consistent prayer, 2, immersion in Scripture, 3, a community of believers who can offer support and accountability. Through these means, we grow in our capacity to love Christ supremely and others appropriately, reflecting on the true image of God in our relationships. And so, should we love God more, love Christ more, or care less about others? There is nuance here, and I think you can make a case for both of these things simultaneously for the reasons that I have outlined.